Hi, my name is Mel, and today I'm going to be talking about what the cloud actually is, or the cloud computing basics, right? So this is bare basics, just to give people who don't really have any idea some idea. So instead of running everything on your own computer or server, you can use computing resources over the internet, like such as storage, servers, databases, apps, and many more, provided by companies like Microsoft, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. Okay? So, what the cloud actually is a collection of remote data centers. So a cloud is a collection of remote data centers which are full of servers that you access over the internet. You don't see the hardware, you just use the services, but the hardware does exist in a remote data center. So the cloud is someone else's computer, but with massive scale, high reliability, global reach, and usually pay-as-you-go pricing. So there's three big cloud models. So it's called infrastructure as service, or IaaS. So with infrastructure as service, you rent raw computing resources. So for example, a virtual machine, storage, networks, or firewalls. You manage the operating system and the apps. The provider manages the hardware. Okay, so this is important. In IaaS, or you manage the operating system and apps, and the provider manages the hardware. So then there's platform as service, or PaaS. So you rent a platform to run apps on without managing servers. So, for example, Azure App Service, AWS Lambda, and Google App Engine. So, in platform as service, you focus on the code. The provider handles the servers, scalings, and operating systems. Okay? So, in platform as service, you focus on the code. The provider handles servers, scaling, and operating system. And then we've got software as service, okay, or SaaS. You use a complete application over the internet. For example, Microsoft 365, Gmail, Salesforce. No infrastructure or platform management, just use the app. Okay? So, the core components of cloud computing, the bare basics are compute, such as virtual machines, containers, serverless functions. This is the brain power of the cloud. Then you have storage, such as object storage, file shares, block storage. It's used for files, backups, media, and logs. Then you have networking. So networking, like virtual networks, load balancers, firewalls, VPNs, this connects everything securely. Then you can have databases, which are SQL, NoSQL, managed database services. The cloud handles backups, scaling, and patching. So in networking, this connects everything securely. All right? Identity and access. Cloud identity systems like Microsoft Entra ID, identity, controls who can access what. And it's a good idea to have some kind of identity and access management over the cloud. Monitoring and logging, tools that track performance, errors, and security events. So why do organizations, or why do people use the cloud? So scalability. Add or remove resources instantly. Okay, cost efficiency. Pay for only for what you use. No need to buy physical servers if you don't need them. Reliability. Cloud providers offer redundancy, backups, and global availability. Security, built-in encryption, identity management, and compliance tools. Speed, deploy apps in minutes instead of weeks. And a lot of people use the cloud for storage. Even just one-off users, you can use OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, Google Cloud. You get that free with the Gmail thing to store like extra stuff like files and stuff. And you can also share, give people sharing links to a lot of these services as well. So I often share my Google Cloud files that I've got, or OneDrive files with people if they need them. Okay, so storage is a big one too. All right, so even though I've only got 1 or 2 computers where I reside at home, I use the cloud all the time for primarily storage, but I'm going to be looking at also using it for like coding and stuff like that, because it's much easier to do it like that. And what sort of cloud deployment models are there? So there's public. So there's shared infrastructure such as Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, most common and cost effective. There's a private cloud, dedicated infrastructures for one organization. This is used for strict security or compliance, and often would be used for like governmental agencies or finance agencies. Hybrid, which is a mixture of on-premises structure, so on-premises devices, and cloud, useful for gradual migration. And look, pretty much everybody will have hybrid. That is because you shouldn't just rely on the cloud, and you shouldn't just rely to on-premises computer infrastructure. The reason being is if something fails, then you can fall over to the other one. So you will need to have some servers and desktops and laptops and tablets and routers and switches in your environment, and you will need to have an external backup drive as well as backing up over the internet. Okay, you should have at least 2 methods of backing up. And so when I sort of like talk to people, I would advise hybrid, because like you can also have parts of your cloud be private and parts of it be public as well. And multi-cloud uses more than one cloud provider, avoid vendor lock-in. Yes. And if there's a problem with the internet service provider, it also helps not have that particular problem. Okay, so how is cloud services billed? So how do you pay and how does it work? So cloud uses consumption-based pricing. So you can pay for compute time, so how much time it takes to compute things, storage used, network traffic, database operations, and API calls. This is why cloud can be cheap for small workloads and expensive for poorly managed workloads. And this is why you would need to get an expert in cloud and network infrastructure to look at what best suits your company if you've got a more complex. But like I would generally, for smaller companies, I would start off small. And you generally, like for small companies, it's usually like storage and sometimes compute, or virtual machines, or could be for coding, depending on what you do. So, like the big picture, cloud computing is built from virtualized hardware, scalable platforms, managed services, global networks, and pay-as-you-go pricing. Everything else, which is such as AI services, Kubernetes, serverless, DevOps pipelines, is built on top of these basics. All right, so this is just the bare basics of cloud. Very, very bare basics. Sort of the, quick and cheap sort of thing. Okay.